Now we're going to learn how to vacuum a pool. 3 things that you need to vacuum a pool is a vacuum head, a vac pole or pool pole, and a vacuum hose as seen here. First thing I'll do is connect the pool pole to the vacuum head. I'll squeeze pins and push the pole on until it clicks and locks. The next thing, you'll want to choose the end that you put to your vacuum head and the end that goes into your skimmer. The end that goes into your vacuum head swivels. And it's really important that you put the swivel end on the vacuum head because this area here is not watertight. And it will tend to, if in the skimmer, it gets close to the surface of the water and could suck air and help you make you lose your prime on your pool pump. Pool pump pumps water very well and does not pump air well at all. So the next thing we'll do is we'll submerge the vacuum head and the hose. As I mentioned a second ago, the pool pumps water well and does not pump air at all, so we're going to need to flood this hose with water. There's a couple different ways to do it. I'll show you both of them. First, you get the hose all the way in the water, and one way to do it is to put the other end of put this end of the hose in the water and then slowly force the hose down into the water a section at a time. That can work pretty well, but what we think works much better is putting it in front of an inlet, a return. So I'll bring the hose down in front of an inlet return and I'll let the pool pump do the work for me. You'll slowly start to see the vacuum hose take on some weight. And this could take a minute or so, depending on how much water pressure you have. I'm in front of a jet now that doesn't have just tons of water pressure. It helps to hold the vacuum hose very tight up against the inlet. And it might even help to turn off, if you have 3 or 4 valves like this pool has, it might help to turn off a couple of your return valves in order to get the thing full of water. So you'll wait for the hose to quit bubbling, and when it quits bubbling, you know that the vacuum hose is fully primed and you are ready to vacuum. Now all you have to do is go find your pool pole, which is apparently fell down in the water, and luckily I have found it resting on this bench. So I'll get control of the pool pole again. Pull it over here so maybe it doesn't move. And I'll take my vacuum hose that's full of water. I'll bring it over, and sometimes people like to take it, cap it, and stick it over the wall and down into the bottom of the skimmer. Sometimes people will just push it through the skimmer and bend it, take it down to the bottom of the skimmer. At this pool, we don't have a vac plate, and I can show you about a vac plate at another time, but for this lesson, we're going to put it down in the bottom of the suction port and the bottom of the skimmer. So now you can tell when you tug on the hose that there's some suction on it. However, it's not pulling as good as it could because I still have that skimmer is pulling, the other skimmer is pulling, and now the main drains are pulling. So I'm going to go and cut those back. I'm going to cut the shallow skimmer off since I'm pulling out of the deep skimmer, and I'm going to cut my main drains back. I'm going to leave them open just a little bit so this one doesn't have too much suction. And you'll be able to feel how much suction is on the vacuum head on the floor. If it's too much, you won't hardly be able to move it across the floor. So let me do that real quick. So with all our suction coming through this skimmer, I can feel the hose, and there's a lot of resistance on it, so I know I've got a lot of water coming through. I think I can loosen this pool pole and extend the length of it. And it's really awesome to have if you have a dirty pool, to show how well this vacuum will work. But since we have this bench right here that's really close to the surface and the camera can see it better, I'll show you that while you're vacuuming, you need to push the vacuum head about at the rate of speed that's fast enough. And I feel like I've got a little bit too much suction on it because I can't smoothly move the vacuum head. But this is not something that you rush. You really kind of go at about this speed. And you'll know if you're watching closely and you're vacuuming a dirty area, if you start to see dust cloud around the vacuum head, that you're going a little fast and you'll need to slow down. If you're vacuuming a dirty floor and you're vacuuming on filter, which is a very common way to vacuum a pool that's just a little bit dirty, if you do that, if you're vacuuming on filter, you'll notice after 4 to 5 minutes, sometimes 15 minutes, depending on how large your sand filter is, you'll see that the flow is not, the suction is not as good and the pool is not flowing as well. And that's because you're sticking dirt into your sand filter. The pressure will rise a lot and it will be time to backwash your filter system, your filter tank, and you'll go through all the backwash procedures and clean your sand and start back vacuuming again when you get finished. The only difference in vacuuming on filter, like we're doing now, and vacuuming on waste, hey, I see a spot in the bottom of this pool. The only difference is right now the filter valve is on filter, and if you vacuum on waste, your filter valve will just be on waste. When you do vacuum on waste, like I say, it's the same procedure, but you need to go ahead and start adding water to your pool because it'll drain your pool really fast. And that's really the biggest difference. It's vacuuming still, except on waste, the water and the dirt's going straight to the ground. And you really only do that when you have flocked your pool. And a flocculant is kind of a coagulant, and basically it takes everything in the water that's clouding the water and sticks it together and makes it heavy and drops it to the floor. That's a real common need for vacuuming on waste because you don't want to vacuum up the sticky stuff and stick it in the filter because it can ruin your filter sand. Otherwise, for small vacuuming needs, for little amounts of dirt, vacuuming on filter would be my recommendation. And when you get finished vacuuming, you turn your valves back to their normal settings and coil your hose up and get the water out of your hose, coil it up. And just remember to put the swivel end on your vacuum head and the non-swivel end down in your skimmer.